of the night for us. We're going to Taniere of the week. So we're quite excited about this 18-course meal, wine pairings, 3 rooms, excitement around every corner. Let's go. It worked.
Good evening. Bonjour.
Alright, so let's try this first.
Well, here's an edible flower. We'll see how this tastes. I'm sure it's not pizza, but... Oh, that's not bad. Really?
And here we actually have cranberries from his neighbor that we slightly poached in maple syrup. We wrapped around a duck breast prosciutto that we make in-house. We salt it for about 10 days and then dry age it for about a month and a half.
And where is the gin from?
Saint Laurent.
So typically I like my vodka martinis, but this is a gin martini. And the gin is made from 2 hours north of here in Quebec. And this is a real... What else was in this? Whatever the hell they put in it is damn good.
On the bottom are oyster that's been seasoned with cucumber juice, and the pearls are actually cucumber as well that have been compressed. And wild herb that grows here in Quebec, its name is Cerfeuil musqué. It's unfortunately I don't know the name in English, but it has slightly anisey notes like fennel seeds.
Okay.
And we tap that on top here. We actually have a wild rose consomme. We wanted to find a way to serve a liquid upside down. So instead we froze the top layer with liquid nitrogen, get a nice icy exterior to get it very fresh for you. And then the spoon is actually Arctic char. We wanted to have the texture of a ceviche, but we don't have any citrus fruits here in Quebec, so we actually cooked it in our own homemade apple kombucha. So it takes a bit more time. It's actually a process that takes about 2 hours to cook, and we serve it on top of pickled rose petals. I invite you to have the oyster first, then use the spoon, come break a bit of the ice, get that freshness with the Arctic char.
God, that's beautiful, eh? Oh, that's really good.
1686. Most people don't know they actually exist in Quebec. It's actually wild forage wasabi I'm talking about. Extremely rare root. It grows in northern Lac Saint-Jean, tiny village called Albanel. But extremely rare, like I said. To give you an idea, I have 50 milliliters of essence in my hand. It's over a year's worth of work, and also the only bottle of essence of wasabi, of wild forage Quebecois wasabi that exists in the world. So it's quite precious. I got a little support in case it slips through my fingers. I'm going to invite you to smell it, but I ask you to please keep distance. As it is essence of wasabi, it's extremely powerful. We fried and we season with wild forage mushrooms. I'm coming to top off with a gravlax of venison. And then finishing your bite off, we are in Canada, we like our snow, with a snow of wasabi. So if you're looking for the spiciness, it's
We'll stop just right here. My name is Jonathan. I'll be your server and sommelier for the night. Good evening to everybody who's watching us right now. Complex, and I like actually his depth.
Chef's counter. Every dish has a historic event or a historic part associated with the dish. So since it's actually our first dish, we start all the way at the beginning of the history of Quebec with the journals of Champlain. Champlain indicated there was a lot of noyer noir in the region of Quebec. Noyer noir is a tree that grows in abundance here. That has a cousin or a brother that we can say, which is the ash tree. It actually has a brother that is called the ash tree, which produces the only indigenous nut of Quebec. It's the ash nut. We have different people, farmers that grow hazelnuts and different nuts, but these are all importations and not originating from Quebec. So the ash nut, we used it to make a milk, and we put it in a siphon to make it very light and airy, and we came and cooked it in liquid nitrogen. Have a nice crunchy exterior, but melting in your mouth creaminess. And then we have it with fake cheese, so a creamy, thick sunflower seed that we have underneath the thin slices of Jerusalem artichoke that we pickled. Bon appétit.
Really good.
This one is about the first owner of the house. His name was Mr. Lebert, and he was in the fur business, and he became very rich with the fur business. So we went on that idea of luxury, and we present you tonight caviar of wild sturgeon. We have only 10 fishermen in Quebec that are allowed to collect caviar. It's a very unique resource, and we serve it with scallop that we slice thinly, poach it only a few seconds in butter to give it a little warm, and underneath you will find potatoes in a nice creamy beurre blanc, which give richness and gourmandise to the dish. Enjoy!
For our next dish, it's actually inspired from the Place de Paris, which is right behind us right now. And it's actually, if you walk outside where a lot of construction is being done, it's because back in the day it was actually where they stored a lot of the seafood in the fishing market were. So it was inspired us to have a dish around a Quebecois lobster that we have here that was poached in butter. And we have it served with glazed fava beans and wild rice from Quebec, served with semi-dried tomatoes to bring out more of the acidities of the tomatoes. And we actually have the innards of the lobster, which is actually the red powder that we have. Actually, when you pick it out of the female lobsters, it's the eggs that are quite black, but once you cook them, they become very pink and red. And we have it with snow peas of the sea that we have here, the green that have been glazed.
Sea asparagus, yes.
Not sea asparagus, sea peas. I actually have here homemade bread with hemp heart seeds, and we have a homemade butter. It's actually a cultured butter. So the difference between a normal butter and a cultured butter is that we have the process of a crème fraîche. So when we temper the butter to have the fermentation, so about 3 to 4 days, and then we ferment it, strain it, that way we get rid of all the buttermilk. But then instead of just having pure cream that we mix to have the butter, it's actually we take the crème fraîche and then we mix it, and we have the flavor of slight acidity associated with the butter. It's actually a type of weed that is extremely fragrant if you smell it. So we actually use this to infuse in the cream to make the butter. So they're more rare than typical grass, and it's a beautiful product. It remembers a lot of vanilla and also tonka beans.
Very, I like the smell.
Bon appétit.
Sometimes you read TripAdvisor reviews and you think there's no chance it could be as good as what people are describing. The experience here at Taniere3 thus far is beyond what we read. This is just outstanding stuff thus far.
How you doing, genius?
On the nose, I think it's wild berries, wild strawberry, raspberry. The mouth follows as well.
Most frequently used product in when the French were still here in Quebec City. It was actually the only product that wasn't taxed by the King of France. So everything else was taxed, but this was the only thing that we could bargain with without being imposed taxes by the King of France. So it was frequently used. There was a lot of eels here in Quebec before, but then there was the construction of the hydro dam, which completely restricted a lot of the eels that we had. And also the government, since it's a species that's a lot less common here, it's actually protected where we can only fish adult eels here in Quebec now, no longer the babies. Oh, wow. So we actually have the eel that's been confit, so cooked for about an hour, and then we torch it with a glaze of strawberry and damari. So damari is actually the mother sauce of the tamari and soy sauce. So the beginning of the fermentation before prolonging it. And we have actually the strawberries come from the island right next to us, in Orléans.
Oh, so, love it up there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful island, beautiful farms.
Oh, so many strawberries.
Exactly. It's crazy abundance. Once you get them, you get a lot of them. Yeah. But since it's actually still the beginning of the season and we don't have too much rain, we're still slightly acidic. So not too sweet and not too fruity. So it's purely beautiful to go with the eel, get that slight acidity. You actually have a gel inside of your plate as well, which is actually juiced strawberries. So we did not cook them. That way we would still be able to keep that acidity of the strawberry and not have like a marmalade or a compote that we have on top of toast. So we actually seasoned it with daisy buttons and the sea asparagus. Okay, so the sea asparagus that we talked about earlier, didn't want to ruin the surprise. And we actually have it with a few solids seasoned with the damari as well.
The 19th century in this lower part of the city. Well, there were fire over and over and over. So much that even the insurance company weren't insuring anybody anymore in housing and preventing fire. So the chef thought about a link with the fire, and we thought about morel mushrooms because it only grows on a land that had fire before. Oh. And so we stuffed it with some farce fine of poultry and with a classic crisp underneath that has been powdered with some black shallots that has been fermented for 2 weeks. And underneath it all, you have a garnish of foie gras, sweet peas, and as well onions.
Oh, foie gras. Oh, amazing. What's it like? You can't describe it?
I can't describe it, it's so good.
For our next service here, it's actually our dish that we call the top burning. I promise you, it's the dish that's smoking and it's not something burning in the kitchen. So exactly, it's actually pine that's smoking underneath. Historic link with this dish, it's a bit how we talked about the morels earlier, how the area of Saint-Pierre that we're in right now completely burned down, multiple repercussions. And it's actually a little known fact about Old Quebec is that all of Old Quebec was pretty much still in ruins. All the buildings that we have on top are all reconstructions. Nothing that still originates from the original dates of the French era, except for the stone vaults that we're in right now, which are completely original. Except for in the kitchen, if we see, there's actually much more modern tile. It's because the building was completely destroyed, foundation was not reusable, so they did it with cement. So that's why we were able to have the original foundation style with the house. They have still the area and the neighborhood little look that it was still in the old time of the French. So we have on top of our dish here, we actually have asparagus that has been glazed with maitake mushroom, also known as hen of the woods. Very meaty flavor that we go in and get even more of by grilling it on a hibachi grill. So that's actually a wood charcoal grill. And we have underneath this the pine that was smoking your duck breast, like black garlic. It's about 2 to 3 week fermentation, but it's unique to us. When we opened the restaurant, we really wanted to push some of the fermentation techniques. We took about 25 to 30 vegetables. We fermented them all. It took about a month. Realized that 99% of them were completely disgusting. But the one gem that we really found was the Jerusalem artichoke that fermented. It's absolutely delicious, very sweet because of that. You get incredible caramel notes. We have on top 2 berries of the duck that have been lacto fermented, so slightly acidic, very there to balance the fattiness of the duck. And we have on the left of the duck, it's a spaghetti of turnip that's been glazed with the duck glaze with spices like caraway. So for this service, if I may permit myself, I invite you to eat a bit of garnish from underneath with the garnish from on top, a little bit of vegetables with the meat. So here we have our behind-the-scenes kitchen.
Oh, wow.
So this is our pastry chef Mariska. So with her pastry area, so she does all the breads herself and all the pastries. And we have here the hotline with our other sous chef, Jean-Antoine. Hi.
Bonjour.
So everything here is all dishes hot, all come from here. Typically all watched by our sous chef here. And we actually have the giant island here, which is a wonderful thing to have because anything that we have a huge mise en place, like trimming flowers and all these herbs that take typically a lot of time.
Right.
The advantage is I can fit around 10 people around that island. So when we have a busy night or something, a big task to have, we'll actually all gang up together, do it all together. That way it takes about 15 to 20 minutes instead of taking one person all day doing the same thing, which can be kind of boring. So everybody gets to see a little bit of everything, and everybody gets to learn a bit more this way.
Oh, that's great.
So we actually have back there, actually looks like a washing machine or a dryer, but it's actually a freeze dryer. So one of the products that we use a lot here, it's a freeze drying technique. So it's actually a machine invented by NASA that dehydrates, but with extreme cold, because it super freezes and it compresses that with like a bit of vacuum sealer. What the advantage is, it goes from solid to gas immediately. It skips the liquid phase. That's why when we have freeze dried product, you can really keep the entire fiber and the fruit almost itself. Fruit, fish, anything. You can freeze dry about anything. First menu, we actually had freeze dried yogurt. And it's absolutely wonderful. Cool. So it's extremely acidic, and we used it to season some of the bites because we don't have any citrus fruits, again, like we said in Quebec. So it's a wonderful tool that we actually have. A lot of the products that you ate tonight were freeze dries. So one of the products as well was in the nasturtium flour, actually, the compressed yogurt with haskap. The haskap berry, it was actually freeze dried. And that way we wouldn't have too much moisture in the yogurt because we really like the density of the compressed yogurt come in flavor. That way we dry it even more. It makes it even more stiff for us.
I cannot recommend this experience more. These guys know what they're doing. This is incredible.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you come to Quebec City, you come here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And
very nice.
Oh, no, for sure, yeah. One question though, in the winter, everything is from Quebecois.
Exactly.
What do you do in the winter?
So winter we very much work preserves and all that. So right now summer is actually our crazy time of the year because we actually put a lot of preserves, fermentations and all that. We push. That way we are able to have all these preserves during the winter because we actually opened the 20th of March this year. So it was something that was extremely tough to have an opening menu with without a lot of restrictions, because there's a lot of things we wanted to have on the menu but couldn't because it wasn't in season. So a lot of things that we've already started, like lacto-fermented carrots, we've salted carrots, mushrooms, a lot of berries, we've darkened a lot of vegetables with fermentation, all these to preserve to have something for next autumn. A lot of drying, freeze drying. So the machine, the freeze dryer, it's actually a machine that we run a lot. But the thing is that it doesn't have that much space, as we can see, but it takes 2 days to pre-dry the 5 trays that go in there. So it's a lot of energy, a lot of time, and it's just everything we get 10 times more. That way we have a beautiful product still working in winter.
That's fabulous. Going back to pioneer days when everything's sustainable.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
You gotta go with local, and if you don't know how to cook the food that's around you, it's too easy to go get fruits from the market and everything. We want to push and showcase what we can do and what we have here in Quebec and in Canada.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you very much.
We have loved this.
It's wonderful.
And we're not done yet.
Oh,
so, yeah.
still cheese and all the sweets coming in.
Oh, perfect.
And this one is super dry.
So he's actually gonna...
The cheese that you have right in front of you is La Bête à Séguin, which translates literally to Séguin's Beast. Marc Séguin is one of our famous painter right now. So, like you saw, the painting, Marc Séguin created a series called Forest, and the painting was Boreal Tragedy. Forest inspired man. Unfortunately, we tend to not take care of our forest, unfortunately. So this way we pay homage to our forest and to Marc Séguin as well. We created a dish with the Bête à Séguin, which is the soft cheese aged for 60 days. You have parcel pesto, you have a berry hip glaze, espuma of the same cheese, and we decided to work with the coal and with crouton of bread. And we painted with coal as well on top of the, or at the bottom of the pizza. Magic happens. It's the same experience that you had.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not.
But not at the chef's table.
Exactly.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, nice.
And we'll seat you right here.